Why don't you guys just fire away and ask what you want? Right, that'd be easier.
How's Siler doing?
Siler is he's okay. I mean, he's been okay since probably midweek, and so no change there, and seems the same. And it's just a long, when a guy gets dinged, you just don't get him back the next day. And if there's any lingering effects, then it's really going to prolong things. So, like I said, we had him available and we had him going kind of midweek, but just really didn't have enough reps, and we wanted to be safe with him and all those things.
Was there any talk during the game, maybe in late third, early fourth, of giving somebody else a crack at quarterback, or is it Troy's job the whole way?
There wasn't really much, and like I said after the game, it was going to be so hard for anyone to play quarterback in that game and throw the ball. And was there some things that we had that we could have done better, that Troy could have done? Yeah, I mean, everybody has that. But those conditions were pretty tough on throwing the ball. We did get a few things done, late throwing the ball, so we could have done some things. But, to throw somebody in there that late, there wasn't really a lot of talk about that.
Back with the first team reps and preparing to start and all that.
Yeah, I mean, a guy's not going to lose a starting job because he gets an injury.
Is that the decision you made, physically he was apparently ready to go during the week? Is that kind of consistent with the way you manage the program? If a guy can't practice all week, then you do what you did, or is that just special with a quarterback?
I think it's pretty consistent. And I think if you feel like a guy has enough reps to be successful, and probably his experience, if you got a guy that's been here 4 years and has been through it and is not going to need a ton of reps to get ready and timing and all that, I think that would factor into it. But Siler's still playing his first year himself, and when it comes to those type of things, you want to err on the other side for sure.
Can we expect Shaq Thompson at running back again?
We're still working through that. Yeah, I mean, Shaq did a heck of a job, and my hat's off to that guy. Wherever we need to play him, I mean, he'll go there. And in fact, I was talking to him about it today, and he's like, "Just tell me where I need to go." And I think he really means it. I'm trying to push him. Hey, if you had your druthers, those type of things. But I thought he did a good job. I mean, he ran hard, made some things happen, and he's a good player.
I think you played roughly 29 snaps at running back. Was that generally the plan, or did you guys have anything specific in mind for how many carries you wanted him to go?
Nope.
Not playing on defense really, or anything like that?
Nope. Didn't have as many snaps in mind as he was going to go and go till he could go. And he was in there a few times and needed to come out and catch his breath, put Coop in there, and Coop did a pretty good job. And so, we're just continually analyzing that whole situation.
Just the way the defense was playing, you obviously felt comfortable with the guys that were in there.
Well, it's really hard to get it, during the week to say you're going to start on defense, you're going to start on offense, and you can do it all. I just don't know if that's possible, because there's so much game plan specific stuff on both sides of the ball. So it's like you got to kind of choose one and maybe make an emergency guy on the other side.
Looking back, though, is there, especially when it got tied at 10, was there maybe a chance there to put him in on defense for a series in the fourth quarter or two, or was that just totally off the page?
Our linebackers are playing. I mean, Keyshawn Bierre, that played. I mean, he's a good player. We have some good linebackers, and Shaq's obviously equally as good. But so we're just trying to maximize our talent and figure out the best way to do that. And so Shaq, factors into all these talks, in the secondary, in the linebacker, at running back, and how do we best help the team.
Shaq not take snaps at defense all week? Was he on the offensive side? Or?
He was on the offensive side most of the time. He did a little something. And we've done that in the past, at running back. Certain parts of practice will flip him over. But you still got to major in one side.
How about Levon Coleman and Dwayne Washington this week?
Yeah, and so we anticipate those guys being a little bit better. Like I said, Levon was, could have definitely played. I think, I don't think there's many running backs that are completely healthy this time of the year. So the more rest we could get those guys, the better it was. And again, if we're going to move Shaq over there and play him, he's going, he's playing. So, another good week of practice for those other two guys to heal up and should help us.
Is it possible to take much analysis of Troy's performance because of the conditions?
Yeah, I think you can. I mean, I think you can analyze some things. I think I think it has to do with, where to go with the ball, throwing on time, all those type of things. Now, if the ball's not super accurate, that's going to be hard to be super accurate, especially when you're throwing it down the field a little bit in those conditions. And so I think you can take some stuff, and analyze, was the ball coming out? Are your eyes right? Did you need to take a sack? Could you scramble? Could you throw it away? All those things.
Those areas about
What's that?
What stood out in those areas about how he played? Those things you can't analyze.
What's the doubt?
What stood out?
Again, it's kind of the same stuff. It's that those are the areas he needs to get better in. He needs to get better, rid of the ball quicker. And we've got to go through our read progression and all those type of things. And, first, second, I guess, real game snaps, and to be put in from the start against a pretty good defense and tough conditions. And, it's tough sledding.
Explanation on the block.
With the wind was such a huge factor in the downfield passing game and whatnot. If the forecast had been what it was, say on Monday, because you said it was basically like 24 hours in advance, would that have changed your thinking at all in terms of the quarterback?
No, not in terms of the quarterback. No, I'm not sure how that would change our thinking when we had our starter injured and those type of things. We're always going to put the best guy in that gives us the best chance to win that we think, as long as who's ever available, whoever has the most reps, all those type of things. We're not trying to, put somebody else in jeopardy of getting hurt more.
Did you get an explanation on the running into the kicker penalty on the blocked punt? It appeared to be blocked anyway.
Yeah. We have not. We're still waiting to hear back. Yeah.
Did that look blocked to you?
Yeah, it was blocked. It was blocked. Yeah, so I don't know. Yeah, we're still waiting to hear back. And then if I do hear back, you guys kind of know how it goes. I can't say anything, so, yeah.
Chris, would you consider playing Troy and Seiler in the same game and switching them in and out?
Not really. We'll do if somebody's just really struggling, but, that's not ideal. And so we don't go in thinking that way. We go in thinking, hey, this guy's going to go, and you try to hang with him as long as he can and get him into a rhythm, and hopefully he can make some things happen.
Regarding Cooper's performance, what did you see from him Saturday, and then where is he coming out of that game?
Yeah. I thought Coop did a nice job. The guy's amazing from what he's been through and where he is, and so I thought he was very solid. He found some creases and got vertical north and south, and he's always going to be a really good security blanket, and I mean that in a really good way for the coaches, because he's going to do the right thing, and he's got a good knack for finding creases and those things, and he's such a great team guy as well.
You see him as a guy that's capable of taking the load, being like a 15, 20, 25 carry back, or is that not something that he's physically at right now?
No, I think if you ask him, he'd say that, but I think we're still trying to figure out if we have one of those guys that's that guy, and, again, get that guy into a rhythm as well.
Do you reassess the punting game after Saturday?
Well, I'll tell you what, if you put that tape on, Corey was struggling to get those snaps, and Ryan, does a pretty darn good job of getting some velocity back there. But there was a couple of those snaps where, they were like curveballs coming to him. And so as soon as you take those punters out of their rhythm, that really struggles. And we still got to do a better job on our protection. So Corey was also having a hard time handling the snap because of the conditions, and he was getting it out really, really quick. And that made it really, really difficult, on him. Like I said after the game, and this isn't all on Corey, I'm not saying that, they did a better job in their punting game than we did. And it starts with, our schemes and what we're doing there, and we're looking closely at that stuff.
If you have an offense that needs Shaq Thompson more than the defense needs Shaq Thompson, would you make this move permanent?
We could, and that's the $1 million question right there. You never feel like you have enough firepower anywhere. I don't know if there's any coaches. Well, maybe there's one or two teams that go, yeah, we're good. And so we're always trying to figure out, where does it give our team the best shot in the arm? But I think if we thought that and, we could possibly do that. I think it's kind of a week-by-week evaluation on where we are.
Are you confident that as you make that assessment over time, you've got the kind of guy, not only talent-wise, but in his head, that if you need to go back and forth, like kind of you have been, that he's a guy who can handle that?
Jack? I do. I really do. He's, I don't want to set him up for failure on something like that. But, and he, everybody needs reps, and you can't just throw somebody in there. You just can't. And I think that's what some people assume. Well, let's play him on defense this week, or let's get him in the game, and he's taking. It's not that simple. Nobody can do that. But if we needed to move him on the other side, a different position, I think if anyone on our team could do it, I think it's Shaq.
Does that feel like a kind of a dire situation, though? Pretty dire to make a move like that.
I don't really feel like it's dire. I think if we got in trouble at a position like we kind of were at running back, that's a really good answer. If we get in trouble at another one of those positions on defense, it's a really good answer. And I think when it's dire, you're moving guys that have never played there, or you're feeling like, well, that's just all we got. And I never feel like that with Shaq.
How much do you? Obviously you're trying to win games, but how much do you consider a guy's long-term potential future at the next level? There's people talking about Shaq as a first-rounder at linebacker, but does that even factor into?
I think that this helps Shaq in his long-term future, because I'm not sure what he is. I know he's something really good, but I'm not sure at the next level he is that linebacker. He might be a hybrid, a nickel, a safety. He could be a running back, and he's got a lot of tape on. We got a lot of tape on him as a linebacker to assess that. Well, let's look at him in some other positions. I think it helps him.
Chris, you've had enough time, I guess, now that you can kind of assess maybe how your coordinators have done, kind of, because you always talk about maybe self-scouting. Yeah. Can you talk a little bit about where you kind of see both your coordinators at?
Well, I think we're doing fine. I think a defense is in a little more of a groove. We got some, a little more depth over there. On offense, certainly with, trying to find a rhythm and trying to find what we do best and trying to get our quarterback settled. We play a few games. Our first game, give Jeff the chance. Then we get Seiler going and feel like we're starting to make some progress there, and then gets dinged a little bit, and then we put a new quarterback in and, have some tough conditions. And so we just haven't been as settled as we'd like to be. And I think that makes it hard on everybody. But I think that they're analyzing everything they possibly can to give our guys the best chance, and it's going to take some time. There's no question about it. We're not going to come out in any one week and all of a sudden, hey, how'd that happen? It's going to be, I think I've said it a couple weeks ago. Whether it's a player, coach, offense, defense, it's kind of a couple steps forward, step back. That's how progress is. And it's really hard to, certainly we didn't make much progress this last game. But again, we're talking about, okay, we had a new quarterback. We got a really pretty good team, defense that we're playing. We got some tough conditions, all those things. It's hard to take that step that we'd like as coaches.
And I think you mentioned kind of the identity or the characteristics of a team will come out when they're faced with adversity. Now it seems like the offense is kind of struggling with that a little bit. Have you seen some things emerge from that group?
Well, I think the guys are all, I haven't really felt like, hey, the offense is, really coming together and emerging. But I think that, I think the energy, I think the focus, I think how hard they played. We were really proud of that. Certainly, did we execute well enough on offense or in the kicking game? No, we didn't. But like I say, if we stay focused, if we stay energized, if we keep working, we'll get better. If we don't, then, it won't be what anybody wants.
Have you, as a head coach, had a year kind of like this year when it comes to the kind of the lack of stability at the quarterback position, 3 different starters, people coming in and out, how that affects receivers running game?
No, I've never had this situation, ever. And so, yeah, I mean, on offense, I said way back when, you're always trying to make that guy as successful as possible. And so what are we talking about there? We're talking about with the run game. We're talking about how the receivers help out, all those things, because it's such a hard, complicated position. And so if everybody else is playing at a high level, then it's going to make his job a lot easier. And certainly we're not there in the run game or the receiver game. And, nobody's got it, and we're in a good groove there. We're all just working hard and trying to get better.
Coach, would you comment on the Colorado game and then going from 8 p.m. start basically to 10 a.m. Pacific time?
Yeah, so probably playing as late as we possibly could, probably playing as early as we possibly could. And, we're morning guys anyways. That's where we practice. And so it really shouldn't be too much of a factor. If we don't come out and start fast or something, it's not an excuse. It's too early. We know it's coming. We're morning guys. We got to be ready to go.
What about Colorado?
And so I don't know about Colorado. I know they played it last week. So that's, a little bit of advantage. They've already been through that once before. Hey, same routine. That helps. But, the game time's not the major factor.
Is Dexter Charles' injury long-term or?
No, it's not long-term. Now, he is week to week, and he was out there today doing a few things. And so whether he goes or not, it's still to be determined.
How do you think the line did with all that kind of?
I thought, at times we started to get some things going, and at times we struggled. There's no question about it. And, I think that's one area that I'd just really like to see us take the next step is in our run game, to help out our quarterbacks and everything else.
Chris, when an offense is struggling, there's two spots that have been talked about, the quarterback and the play caller. Obviously, that's...
The quarterback and the head coach, but yeah, okay.
That's three spots, I guess. How do you evaluate Jonathan as a play caller, and how do you evaluate all your coaches when...
Like I said, I think he's doing a good job. I really do. And is it translating onto the field? Hey, it's not what anybody wants, not what he wants, not what I want, not what anybody. But it's, sometimes, coaching can be a little bit overrated and things are going good and you're the greatest coach in the world. And so, we're trying to get that right combination of getting our run game going. Our run game starts to block a little bit better. All of a sudden, we're all a little bit better coaches, and our quarterback plays a little bit better and all those type of things. But he's a smart guy. He knows football. He knows quarterback play. And like I said, it's not going to be a snap of the fingers with all brand new quarterbacks that never played a snap of college football. We're talking about, replacing a 3 or 4 year starter with a All-American running back and take those two guys out. And, there's a lot of little factors that go in there. But we'll get there. We'll get there eventually. And we just got to keep believing and keep sticking strong to the process of analyzing things and figuring out what our guys do best and putting them in the best chance to be successful.
How frustrating is it for you to see the box score and see John Ross with 2 touches in the game? How does that...
Well, again, I'm not getting hung up on this last game. This last game was go look at their offensive stats. And they got one of the best offenses around. Taylor Kelly is a top-notch quarterback with big-time receiver, and they've been doing their deal for a long time, and the stats were almost identical. So, everybody loves to pile on when it's not all good. We win the game, it's a different conversation.
Do you have any update on Trevor Walker right now?
So, Trevor, no, he's seeing the doctors and x-rays and all that at 4 o'clock today.
Hey, Coach, you personally aren't used to this, and I don't think you've lost 2 games in a row since your first year at Boise. How does this affect you personally and as a coach? You're not used to this at all. Does it change anything that you do?
It's hard. You lose 1 game. You lose 2 games. It's hard. I kind of talked about that. It is hard. And I think the important thing is to stay strong and to stay positive and not let all the outside noise try to rattle any of our players. I'm really good at that because I don't pay attention to anything on the social media. Because if I did, I'd probably quit right now. And so, I hope our players, would be the same, although I know that that's the world they live in, and that's where we go way back when we started this, where, I'd always been against some Twitter things and all those, because, I tell our guys, I mean, how are you going to let somebody validate you when you make a couple good catches or play a good game that really doesn't even know what's going on? And then likewise, when you struggle a little bit, now all of a sudden you're in a tank because everybody piles on. They still don't know really what's going on. They don't know what your preparation's like. They don't know what you are as a person, all those type of things. And I just think that stuff can be scary. And so, I think one thing that can help is if everybody just pays attention to what we're doing and kind of isolate ourselves a little bit. And it's still hard when you do that because we're all so prideful ourselves. Everybody's trying to do the best job they can.
Chris, going back to the execution, is it that the players are still learning and having to think about what they're doing as part of the learning process, and thereby kind of stagnating the execution, or is it, what's going on with the execution?
Yeah, it's a little bit of that. There's a little bit of good players on the other side. It's still getting dialed into some schemes, and there's certain guys that should be playing better, right now. I mean, there's no question about it. It's not any one thing, and there's certain, we got to coach them a little better. We got to coach them more detailed and get them into a groove, get them into groove calls, and so they can kind of hang their hat on some things, and so it's a combination of all those things.
Colorado isn't winning games right now, but they're playing a lot of teams tough. What do you expect to see from them coming up?
I think that they'll play really, really tough. I think they'll play hard. I think, you kind of look at their scores, no matter who they play. I mean, they're just used to playing tight, hard-fought games. And my hat's really off to those guys because they don't care about the score. They just keep playing. They don't care about the opponent. They show up and play hard. Coach Mack and those guys are doing a heck of a job. They really are. All you got to do is put the tape on. You can look at their scores because it's hard. I mean, when you're not winning your games, and that's why we play, and that's what excites you to show up. And when you lose a couple games like we have, I mean, do you have that mojo? Do you have that energy and that toughness to show up and really prepare like you've been preparing? And that's hard to do. But you put on Colorado's tapes, those guys show up and they play hard.
And talk a little bit about quarterback Stefan Leafow and what you've seen from him.
Yeah, I mean, and I'm still in the process of studying, but I've got a chance, as we do, other game preparation and, playing other common opponents, put him on, and he's a gamer. I mean, he can run, he can throw. I think he's a true sophomore, and I think he's a team captain, so he's got the leadership things, and really, really impressed. I mean, he's a little bit like Taylor Kelly in some ways. He kind of does all those type of things. It's a similar type offense, but he's been playing a year and a half, and just been there a year and a half, I believe. So he's been really, really impressive.
All right. Thanks a lot, everyone.
Thanks, Coach.
Thank you, guys.